Hello, my name is Roxanne Ratcliff and I'm the Diversity, Inclusion and CR Manager here at Burgess Salmon. And today we're going to talk a little bit about disability inclusion in the workplace. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Esi Hardy, who is the Managing Director, owner and lead trainer of an organisation called Celebrating Disability. And that organisation supports businesses to become inclusive. So Esi has been working with us at Burgess Salmon in terms of increasing our understanding around disability and inclusion and running some learning sessions internally within the business for all of our people. So welcome, Esi.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about sort of creating an environment of inclusion around disability within the workplace, because I think there probably will be lots of organisations out there who know that they're perhaps doing the fundamentals pretty well in terms of understanding the legislation and maybe having some understanding of adjustments or access to work, for example, but they're probably thinking that they want to be doing a bit more to really make their disabled colleagues and potential recruitment candidates feel like this is the right workplace for them and that they can be comfortable and that they can succeed. So I wondered if you had any kind of tips and pointers, I suppose, around that disability inclusion piece you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I think I think you're absolutely right. I think lots of people have the right, obviously are doing things for the right reasons, but are really stuck to know where to start. And I think there's a few reasons for that. And one of the biggest one is taboo and fear of getting it wrong. But I think like any other business strategy, disability inclusion needs to be thought of like any other business strategy. And any other strategy businesses putting in place, they need to define their goals, which is the first step. And so really to define the goals, why do you want to be inclusive? Yes, of course, you want to ensure that an environment is inclusive and comfortable for a disabled person. But what does that actually look like? What is the blue sky thinking? If everything is done in 5 years and it's all perfect, what does that look like for you? And that really kind of really helps to then think about what needs to happen in order to get there. It really helps that conversation flowing. I think it's impossible to do that on your own. It's
Mm.
impossible to sit there and say, right, okay, let's think about. I mean, unless you have a small business and you're the only person in it, you can't do it yourself. So it's about involving as many people as possible. So it's about reaching out to those ERGs, those, maybe you don't have a disability ERG, but maybe you have a different diversity ERG, like persons of color, LGBTQ plus, and so on and so forth. Reaching out to them and saying, what's working for you? How did you get people on your ERG? Because I think, again, when these ERGs are separated, they never kind of come together and think about what are the common goals here. The common goal, first of all, the common goal is to get people in the room and get people talking. So what did we do to get people here in the first place? And then kind of just use the same kind of strategy for your disability ERG.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about also remembering that just because you don't have a disability ERG doesn't mean there aren't disabled people that have something to say. There is a lot of fear of repercussion about disability. So disabled people don't come forward because they're worried if they do, that they'll be discriminated against either directly or indirectly, or through another form of discrimination. So disabled people don't always want to come forward because of those reasons. Also, they may not self-identify as being a disabled person. So instead of saying, are you disabled, to answer these questions, saying, we want to create an environment where everybody feels included. What does inclusion mean to you? It's a really, really good start. It's a really open question. And it's a question that implies there's no assumptions being made. It might be that you have to help that conversation along by giving some examples, but you make those examples personal. So you might say, for example, for me, inclusion looks like this. And then it gives people the opportunity to share for them what it feels like. It's also about creating that space where people feel safe to share. So
Yeah.
it's not like, I might share with, I know that this isn't going to happen, but I might share with you, Roxy, and you'll say, oh, no, that's wrong. In that case, I'm not going to put you forward for this promotion because your idea was stupid, Essie. So it's about, articulating that that's not going to happen. And I know that seems obvious, but what goes on internally in people's minds is the mind is so powerful, and it overrides what somebody knows is actually practical and right. So creating that environment where you are telling people why you want to know, what you're going to do with the information, and how people can share as well, really supports them, and have lots of different routes for people to sharing as well. So it's not just about on Tuesday morning we're going to ask you the question, if you don't answer by lunchtime then your time's up. It's about having that open dialogue all the time, so that people can reply when they want to, when it comes to them. Because if you just ask the question the first time, people don't know what the answer is because they've never been asked before. So people need time to process, making that accessible in itself as well. So the way that people can respond is an accessible means, and that's having a diverse range of response ways, because accessibility to one person is different to what it is for another as well. Upskilling your line managers on what happens when a disabled person wants to talk to them about access requirements. So it's not about the line manager needing to know all the answers, because nobody knows all the answers to anything, but it's about them knowing what to do when that conversation happens. So it's fine to say, I'm not quite sure, thank you so much for sharing with me, I'm not quite sure exactly what to do, but this is what we're going to do in order to find the answer. So it's something that is a joint process. So it's not fully the responsibility of the person sharing, it's not fully the responsibility of the line manager, but it's a 50-50 split. I would say actually 60-40 in the direction of the manager. Take the responsibility and take the onus, but also saying to that disabled person, do you have any ideas about what we can do? Don't worry if you don't, but do you have any ideas? And then coming back to that person and saying, okay, this is what I've come up with. Let's talk about what I've come up with and what we both think and how that will work. And it could be a general conversation about, I would just like to let you know that I've been diagnosed with a hidden disability, or I'd just like to let you know that I do have this disability and this is what I need. Whatever it is, it's about how that line manager manages that. And in order for that line manager to know how to manage that, they need that support from above as well. So it's about providing that top-down approach so that the line manager knows that what to do with that response.
Yes, absolutely.
And I hear quite often from organizations, oh, we have these strategies, but the line managers aren't implementing them. And I say, well, did you train your line managers? Oh, no. They're not mind readers. You need to be able to tell people what you need them to do, and then you need to help them to understand how to do it as well.
Absolutely. And I think so many interesting points in there, but I think that the fear that you mentioned, I suppose, is the thing that holds people back quite often. They don't want to start the conversation because they don't feel like they have every single answer written down on a piece of paper, depending on how that conversation is going to go. So it's about sort of unpacking that, I guess, with your line managers and actually reframing how that process should work, which, as you said, is having open conversations and really spending the time to get to know your people. And that's not just, your disabled colleagues or those with health conditions, but all of your people, actually. So you can start to spot if people are struggling or if they've got things going on outside of work that they need help with. It will help you have those conversations that are more open. And as you said, you don't have to have all of the answers, ready to go, ready to fire when you have that conversation, but you make it very clear that you're going to work on it together and that you're going to, come back with some ideas and that you sort of, you're working collaboratively, I suppose, with the individual so that they feel that, they're not going to be just provided with something that they then have to get on with and, here's your adjustment, fantastic, we've done a good job. But actually it's something that evolves, just as, with lots of people with long-term health conditions or disabilities, those conditions evolve as well. So it's not a one-off conversation that you want to have, but you want to be checking in with people periodically to see, how adjustments are working or if there's anything else that's required. So yeah, I think that's really important. That piece that you can do with the line managers is absolutely critical. And then, as you said, the inclusion bit, which I think is quite often a bit of a slow burn, because I don't think you can sort of overnight suddenly build that inclusive culture where people feel that they can talk confidently about what's going on with them, but actually you have to sort of, as you said, do those talking pieces and those bits of research, and also start to communicate across your business regularly around the topics that you want people to be comfortable with, and get some of your senior leaders involved in those conversations as well, so that people are familiar with the fact that you are talking about disability and health conditions, and that they are normal and that they are accepted, because then that means that an individual who develops a condition or comes into the business sees that culture and thinks, oh, okay, I feel safe here, so I feel like I can come forward and start that conversation with my manager, and make sure I get put in place the sorts of solutions needed that doesn't then hold me back in my career, because that's obviously the point where it's really sad to see that people are held back through no fault of their own, but through either circumstance, means that they don't feel that they can ask for what's required to be able to give them the best chance to really thrive in the workplace. So yeah, so I think that's some really fantastic points there from you, Esi, and I just enjoy talking to you about this sort of stuff. So we could talk for hours, but thank you so much. And yeah, Esi, through Celebrating Disability, has been working with Burgess Salmon around our disability inclusion agenda, and yeah, we kind of really enjoy working together, and we hope that you found this video useful. So thank you so much, Esi.
Thank you.